Has it ever been difficult for you to really sink in to your hobby time, even though you have the time? Life has been a little bit wild lately, so I've kind of been off of my routine. The tail end of planning my wedding and then going off to my honeymoon has been pretty intense. It's kind of how my brain works. When there's like a big thing I'm working on, it's hard for me to compartmentalize and pivot into like relaxation mode until that thing has finished. I guess my body's just filled with so much adrenaline and other chemicals that, it's a superpower to fixate so much and to get things done. But then it is really hard for me then to settle into things that get my body back to a baseline. I want to just focus on settling in to my body, being home. So I have really fun recipes to attempt and see how well I fare at them. It's gonna be interesting to see what they end up looking like. And then also I have a few movies I'm hoping to get to as well, sharing my honest thoughts in the middle of them, and then once I wrap them up. Ultimately, I want to try to bottle up that really cozy, nostalgic-filled Summerween feeling that I get every year. But it takes a lot of work to create that magic, especially when I feel like I'm dealing with a lot of other emotions that are kind of sucking the fun out of Halloween that have a lot to do with like big businesses, corporations, capitalism that like I'm really having to combat, and I'll probably create a video where I talk about that more in depth. But right now I really just want to focus on giving myself that inner child work that I think will help get me back on track. So let's jump right into the kitchen, shall we? I have been screaming, yelling with excitement, like a good kind of yelling, since I garnished this. I'm completely obsessed. I wish you would have heard the sounds I was making when I finished garnishing this. Like immediately, I freaked out of cuteness. This is so dang cute. Cute is the word to describe it. Cute is what I'll repeat a million times. It is so darn cute. Oh, completely obsessed. And I think all my little treats came out pretty darn well. I mean, my one big failure, so to speak, my one problem here was that the mozzarella I purchased was definitely not the kind that the recipe was asking and required. I for sure should have done the mozzarella that's more like in a tube. It definitely makes it easier to create the ghost shape. But with that being said, I think I did a pretty good job trying to make some semblance of a ghost outline. I've already queued up my first movie, which is going to be The Summer of '84, and I have the synopsis here if you're not familiar with it. I think it's more of a deeper cut, but from the responses I got in my community tab, where I posted a question about what is my subscribers' favorite summer horror movies, and tons of people said The Summer of '84. I honestly had never heard of this movie before people had mentioned it. So if you're not familiar here, the synopsis is teenager Davy Armstrong is a conspiracy theorist who begins to suspect that a neighboring police officer is a serial killer. With help from 3 friends, Davy launches a daring investigation that soon turns dangerous. Sounds like a good time. I have zero expectations. I didn't even watch the trailer. I think one person, Liz, mentioned that it starts off as being very coming of age and then it descends more into the horror genre. I don't know how far it goes. I don't think it's going to be a slasher. It seems like it's going to be, the serial killer vibe, like more like crime solving. But again, I could be totally wrong. I have no clue. Okay, time to hit play, but I will pop right in around the halfway point, which I think is 45 minutes. It's about an hour and 30 minutes, so I think the math works there. And I'll let you know how I'm feeling halfway through the movie. The 80s vibes are immaculate. I've been keeping some notes as I'm watching, and honestly, it's kind of better to do this. I feel like I'm talking to myself. It kind of makes it more fun. I'm really thinking deeply and critically and creatively about what's on the screen. And I don't know, I just feel more engaged when I'm taking notes. So yeah, the 80s vibes are amazing, and it does really feel like it's authentic to the time period, from the clothing they wear and the pop culture references, the political references of the time. Don't get me wrong, this movie does have a sense of humor, especially when you have a group of like teenage boys who are the main central characters, but it doesn't move into the territory of camp. The tone feels pretty serious. It definitely gives a little bit of Stranger Things vibes as well, especially when you think about the background music that is adding ominous atmosphere throughout the course of it. So I don't know, music does play a really big role in this film, whether it's there to give you a sense of time and place, or it's there to kind of make you suspicious of certain characters. Speaking of characters, I really do feel endeared to the group of boys that we're following. They all have their own little stories, their own little personalities that you get little pieces of. So it feels very real. There's not a lot about these 4 boys or any of the community members that's really being front loaded to you. I like that the creators of this movie are treating their audience and assuming intelligence. Like, I can put pieces of the puzzle together. You don't have to spoon feed me information about every family's backstory. I could fill in the blanks. Despite the fact that these boys are total creepers, watching their female neighbor across the street, they are characters that we, the audience, are supposed to be compelled by and connect with. We're supposed to be rooting for them. I am a little, questioning or concerned about is that there is supposed to be a romance in this film, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know the purpose of it, and I don't know if it's exactly necessary to the plot and to character development. And I guess another concern I have is that I don't know if there's enough of a mystery element in this film. It doesn't feel like they're setting up a whole lot of characters to be suspects in the crimes that are taking place in this community. Those are my thoughts for now. I'll check in with you once I have finished this movie and I have found out who the serial killer is. How could you guys have done that to me? I am so wrecked right now after that ending. Okay, so the movie does like a fake resolution with like 20 minutes remaining, and of course I'm checking it and I'm thinking like, wait, no, this can't be the ending. Like there can't be 20 minutes of like an epilogue. Come to find out, I am right, and it was probably the most tense 20 minutes that I've experienced while watching a movie in a very long time. I haven't really done a lot of thrillers and suspense films or even a lot of gory horror films lately. I've been more in the realm of like campy, tacky movies that are kind of more like horror comedies or that are like set in the 80s, and it's not really all that high when it comes to the stakes. So I'm a little bit like, I'm out of the game. I'm out of the horror movie game. And oh my gosh, I was clutching my little pumpkin for dear life, like my emotional support jack-o'-lantern, because wow, I was very intense in that moment. Overall, I am depressed. Asking myself the question like, do I think that was a good movie? I mean, the acting was great, even though these boys are little creepers. I found them to be very endearing, and I think that's the problem. I think that the movie did such a great job, whether it was the writing, the acting, obviously. I really started to get attached to these characters, and you learn bits and pieces of who they are and their issues that are hidden behind the doors of suburbia, which is, you know, given this illusion that everything's picture perfect. It's not. And so when stuff goes down, I don't get the ending that I want. And I don't know, I didn't like enjoy the way that the movie ended, but that doesn't mean that those kind of movies are not good movies, because I think that even, I guess it even makes them good movies. Like that's a sign of a good movie, because I think a whole goal of movie makers is to make you feel things. And I felt a lot, maybe not the emotions I wanted, but I think it was effective. So in that sense, I think it is a good movie. And I think movies can still be good, even though you don't get the endings that you want for the characters. I think the important thing is like you feel big emotions that are part of the human experience. And like for that to be accomplished by people who are playing make-believe, that's a darn good movie to me. But ooh, if I knew what was in store for me, I don't know if I'd watch that movie, because I don't necessarily like taking that journey emotionally. Y'all are cruel to have recommended this to me, but I had a good time and I regret nothing. But I do think I need a palate cleanser. So another movie that's been recommended to me has been one that's very different in tone. So I think it might be a really good way to kind of like reset, recalibrate. The night is still young. It feels like it's much earlier than it is because it's so bright. That's why I love summer so much. So the next one I want to watch here is The Burning. Okay, it has an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a good sign, right? At summer camp, some teenagers pull a prank on the camp's caretaker, Cropsy. But the joke goes terribly wrong, and the teens leave Cropsy for dead after setting him on fire. A few years later, the burned and disfigured caretaker returns to camp equipped with his trusty shears, ready to unleash his particular brand of vengeance. I know it has summer camp vibes, which is one of my favorite settings for any kind of Summerween media. And yeah, thank goodness for Tubi, so I can watch it. This movie is so wild. I'm at the 45-minute mark, so we're halfway through, and I can't get over the fact that these boys in this film are huge creeps. Like I don't know, and it's so clear that this movie, it has to be written by men, because the way that these women are written, it's so confusing. They talk about these boys as if like they like them, but then they mention that they're afraid of them, and a lot of like these boys at this camp pushing women beyond their boundaries. Like it's very clear that they don't want to do certain things, and these boys are really, really pushy and not respecting that. And I don't know, maybe it's just my mood. I'm pretty distracted by that. And then the cherry on top is that the way that this story is unfolding, it's as if we, the audience, are supposed to be empathizing with one of the camp's biggest creeps. I mean, it's definitely cleansing my palate, that's for sure. I don't know, I'm trying to see the appeal here. Like, I don't know, let me know what you love about this film, if you really love it. I feel like I'm missing something, like I'm not getting a piece of context or something culturally that will help me really enjoy this movie. It feels very similar to Friday the 13th, but with a lot of like problematic behavior that I'm trying to ignore, because I know the 80s don't necessarily include the same like relationship dynamics as we would come to expect in movies today, but still it's a little bit over the top. I will say that this movie is not predictable in terms of, you know, the fun, gory parts of the film where cropsy comes into play. You don't really know. It's kind of like a will he, won't he? And I kind of like that tug of war of whether or not he's gonna strike or if it's just kind of like a fake out. That's fun. And basically, I'm hate watching it. I think that became very obvious to me 30 minutes through this film. I really dislike the group of boys that apparently we're supposed to be connecting with, rooting for. I am not. I'm ready for Cropsy to get his revenge. I hate every male in this movie, excluding Cropsy. He's just out for justifiable revenge. But the rest of them, I don't like them. Where to begin? Okay, should I start off with the things I liked? A really fun part in this movie was the raft scene. Anything that had to do with a raft, that was fun to watch. I didn't know where it was going. I totally wasn't thinking that what was gonna happen was what was happening. And it's just a good example of how this movie enjoys playing with the audience, playing with our expectations and what we're assuming is gonna happen based off of the tropes we already know about. So I like that unpredictability. It really does keep you guessing, and it really kind of kept me watching when I really hated every interaction every male had with any female in this film. Like it got worse as the movie went on. But that raft scene, it was perfect. Any scene with the raft, good times. Overall, I don't think this movie was a good match for me. I didn't like the ending, and it wasn't because I had an emotional experience I didn't want. I didn't like it. I did not like how things played out, and I don't think, in my humble opinion, it is a good movie that I will want to rewatch and re-experience again. And I don't know, it really just has to do with the characters, because I do like bad movies. Like, one of my favorite films is Frankenhooker. Like, that's not a good movie. Like, I'm not known for having great elevated taste. I don't regret watching it though, because I have seen it kind of go around a little bit. People like talk about it. I think it's a movie that apparently people enjoy. I'm not one of them, which is kind of sad, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to hear you gush about this movie. Please do that. Let me know what you loved about it. I don't find that offensive. Like, if you ever have any different opinions than me when it comes to books, movies, literally any media, home decor stuff, like, I won't take offense to it. Like, we are allowed to have different opinions on things, and it's, you know, a brave act to share them, because it then is defining like who we are, and that can be a little bit scary, but I appreciate it. So thank you for, you know, ahead of time sharing your thoughts on these two movies down below in the comments. Let me know your ratings on them, if you like them, if you didn't, if you have any movies that you've been watching recently that you think maybe I should put on my radar. I'm losing daylight here, so I'll wrap things up. But I just had such a fun time. I think that this kind of format for vlogging movies is something I don't do all that often. I have done it in videos in the past, but I think it's more so a format that people like to do with books and checking in as they read something. I found this to be really fun, and I really loved keeping notes on my phone as I was watching, and I didn't even share half the things I wrote down, but it kind of really helped me develop my feelings and my perspective on the film, whereas if I didn't, I don't know what I'd be able to think about, you know, and share and articulate. Also, let this video be a reminder that any time is a good time for you to take a shot at any of the crafts, activities, DIYs that you have saved on your Instagram, your Pinterest, and YouTube, whatever. Give them a shot, do one thing. You don't have to do a whole charcuterie spread like I did. Try it out, because you just might surprise yourself. Like, I had no clue that little straws could be the perfect tool to create little ghost faces. Who would have thought? I don't know. And I want to do those more often. Like, just a fun little way to jazz up my cucumbers I'm so down for that. Anywho, I can't wait to chat with you all down below in the comments. I hope you're having a fabulous summerween, that you're hanging in there, finding time to just be playful, have fun, be silly. It's all, you know, part of the journey. So thank you for being a part of mine. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.